Hi, everybody. Welcome to this latest edition of DPAA Short Connects. I'm very proud to have a fellow I've known quite a long time, even though he's a young-looking fellow. His name is Chris Chesebro, and Chris is Senior VP of Digital Transformation at Coty. Chris was a major media player in the U.S., and he's been in the fashion world at L'Oreal, worked at OMD, and now at Coty, he's living in Paris. And Chris, it's nice to hear that Paris is almost back to normal. Is that the case?
It is. Thanks, Barry. It's great to be here. Yeah, we're pretty much back to normal here, our new normal here in Paris. Things are really unlocked, and it's a beautiful day. Weather's getting really good, and things are looking very positive for us here. It's nice.
Great to hear that. And you've been at Coty how long now, Chris?
I've been at Coty now for about a year and a half. Joined at the end of 2018. So it feels like it's been forever, but it's also not that long of a time.
And it sounds like a great role, SVP Digital Transformation, this time where that is such a key element of all business. Maybe tell our audience a little bit about your role.
Sure, absolutely. So I joined Coty, like I said, a year and a half ago, and the role is really focused on an end-to-end transformation of the way that we do business. So I work very closely with the Chief Marketing Officer, with the head of HR, and with our collective boss to help inject a digital transformation lens, a digital transformation thread through all the different components of the business. So we really look at it in a couple of ways. One, how are we transforming the foundations of our business, the way that we report on our business, the way that we train our people, the way that we market, etc. Second piece is about how we're creating new value, which is really driving through e-commerce growth. And then the third piece is around innovating and creating new business models. So it's one of those more traditional 70-20-10 types of approaches, but it's something that we're seeing really good traction behind, and seeing good impact on the business overall.
Excellent. And as a marketing strategy for Coty, as I understand it, there's two parts, of course. There's the B2C, direct to consumer, and then the B2B, I guess, is to hair salons and proprietors and
Right.
colors and all of that.
Sure. So within the overall scope of Coty, the area that we're really focused on, my team's really focused on, has been on the professional beauty side. So historically, that's been a big component of B2B marketing, to salons, to hairdressers, to nail technicians and nail artists. But there is a growing component of B2C. And one of the transformations that we're going through right now is we're actually in the process of separating ourselves from Coty to create a new private entity that will be a combination of the brands that exist within our portfolio already, like Wella and OPI and GHD, but then also adding brands like Clairol, which is very big in the US and in the UK, to create one new overall company that is a collection of both B2B brands, more B2B brands, and more B2C brands.
Excellent. You know, we're still a little bit locked down here, so we had a haircut come to our backyard over the weekend. And
Yep.
she cut my daughter's hair, my wife's hair, and my hair. And
Right.
so I guess the business is transforming in so many ways where, you know, she was probably a combination of B2B and B2C because she was kind of working on her own. And what are you going to brand this new business?
We are. I can't say exactly what it's going to be called yet, but we're in the process of doing that. We're looking at making some announcements in the fall around that once we get a little bit closer to the actual day of separation. But yeah, I mean, the business, you know, in the markets here in Europe that have started to open back up, the demand for hairdressers is through the roof. You know, in the first couple of weeks that Germany, which was one of the first markets to open back up, you know, it was impossible to get an appointment. You had to go at 7 o'clock in the morning if you wanted to get an appointment. So there's a lot of pent up demand, but then in certain markets, things just aren't open up again yet. So those types of visits that you experience in your backyard, we definitely think there's going to be more and more of that. And unfortunately, you know, certain salons just won't reopen. That's the nature of the business and the nature of the problem. So one of the things that we're trying to do is foster communities online of hairdressers in more of a peer-to-peer fashion, so they can share the different opportunities and different experiences that they have with making the right formulas for their customers, but then also how are they going to manage their businesses moving forward. So we have a community on Facebook that's 30,000 people strong, that is talking in that regard. And then we recently also launched a peer-to-peer sharing jobs board for jobs in hairdressing. That's right now focused on English language markets, but we're planning on rolling it out more broadly than that as well. Because the demand is not going to go away. People are going to want to get their hair cut. They're going to want to get their hair colored. They're ultimately going to want to have their nails done. So that demand's not going to go away. It's just a question of where that demand is going to be fulfilled. And a lot of it will still be fulfilled in salons, in barbershops, and in nail salons. But a lot of that will also be fulfilled at home or in your backyard.
And you can really approach both businesses in your B2C,
Exactly.
B2B businesses. And what's your mix like to reach both of those targets? How does that work on a B2B then B2C basis?
Sure. So we are very much a word of mouth driven business historically. And a lot of it was really driven by the direct relationship that our sales reps have had with hairdressers and with salon owners, but that obviously doesn't go as far as it can, and the reach of that can be limited. So we have started to augment that pretty substantially with search and with social, which is a natural amplifier off of the relationship-driven approach that we have in our traditional businesses. And then with the addition of the more retail-focused businesses like Clairol and the Wella brands that are sold at retail, there's a very large component of more quote-unquote traditional media associated with that. So right now our total mix, it does skew quite heavily in the digital sense, and we try and use it right now as a way of amplifying those communities and amplifying those relationships that exist in our business.
And have you used out of home, and do you have a view towards digital out of home these days?
So digital out of home is one of the things that I think is particularly interesting. It's an additional way to amplify our presence, especially with what we were talking about with more mobile hairdressers, mobile salons. I think there's a big opportunity for us there. I think like many businesses, we essentially stopped spending in a lot of places over the past couple of months. And we're now in the process of reevaluating the way that we want to approach things. But I do believe there's a very big opportunity from a digital out-of-home perspective, especially from a programmatic perspective. The ability to be incredibly targeted is something that is very interesting, especially when we know where our customers are, where the hairdressers are, where the salons are. The ability to localize messaging associated with that is particularly interesting.
And I understand kind of in the digital screen world, the AI world, you've got something, a digital mirror. What is that?
Exactly. So this is something I'm particularly excited about, and it goes to that new business models approach that I was talking about before, which is, it's a platform that we launched at CES earlier this year that's done in partnership with a technology company. So we bring our expertise in hairdressing and in the salon world and the different experiences that go along with that. And we're working with a partner based here in Paris called CareOS that brings a great expertise in the IoT space. So, blending the physical and the digital in one overall experience is what we're looking at. And the platform's called Backstage. And it's a data platform on which there are some premier services and then some business operations services. And one of the premier services, as you were mentioning, is a smart mirror that's layered with augmented reality and augmented reality layered video chat. So we can bring different experiences into the salon from one of our global educators who might not be able to come visit or can't come visit every single salon in the world, but you can bring in that type of experience that way. And then we're also bringing that from a more omni-channel experience as well, so that the consumer can have some of that experience at home before their visit. So it serves the dual benefit of enhancing the customer's experience, but also reducing the amount of time that customers are in the salons, which in this kind of post-pandemic world is something that's really important. And the regulations here in France, at least, are no magazines, no coffee, no water, no spending time in the salon unless it's just for your appointment. But if we're able to bring some of that consultation to the pre-appointment phase while the customer is still at home, that's a great way to enhance the experience for the consumer and also make sure that the experience is great for the hairdresser.
That's great. So they can really experience the products virtually, either at home or at the hair cutting salon before getting the
Exactly.
haircut. What a great
Exactly.
way to
Because
get
one of
it.
the
Yeah.
Yes, one of the biggest things that we see in a disconnect between hairdressers and consumers sometimes is their definition of an inch is a little bit different, and their definition of just a little bit lighter or just a little bit darker is a little bit different. So you can imagine, by being able to try that haircut on before you get the haircut, and being able to try that hair color on before you get your hair colored, it's a great way to make the overall experience better for the consumer.
That makes so much sense. You're really driving some innovation into the future. Yeah, you must be loving your job right now, Chris.
It's a lot of fun. We've got a really good team. We have a great collection of brands, and the thing that I'm really excited about is being able to take this into the future and build this new company based on these types of values. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun. There's a lot going on, but it's a lot of fun. And it's not a quote that's original at all, but we have seen 3-5 years of innovation in the past 3 to 5 months, and transformation in the past 3 to 5 months. So speaking strictly from a business perspective, that's an opportunity for us, and it's an opportunity to make sure that we're able to serve the hairdressers that we serve, take care of our employees, and ultimately give consumers a better overall experience in a safe and innovative way.
You're right. So much of what has transpired was probably going to happen anyway, just got accelerated by COVID. And
Exactly.
we actually interviewed
Exactly.
Sir Martin Sorrell, who said the same thing just last week. So
Right.
you're in good
So I'm in
company.
good company.
Exactly. You're in good company as you're building a new company. And Chris, you're in addition to living in Paris, which has to be very inspiring at this time.
Yes.
What else is inspiring you in your kind of personal or family life or home life these days?
Sure. So, I mean, the transition to working from home for me wasn't that big of a transition. When I took this position, my team is in Geneva and London and Frankfurt and a little bit in LA. So the team's very dispersed. So I got used to a new way of working pretty quickly when I started a year and a half ago. But so the transition to working from home wasn't that big of a deal. But one of the things that I really like is right now at the foot of the bed is my dog, who's sleeping and enjoying. So I've got a good coworker here with my wife, and we're very lucky in that regard that we're in a sun-drenched apartment and able to really focus. And I think the thing is a silly little one, but not having to commute for 45 minutes to an hour a day makes a big difference. It makes a really big difference in how productive you can be and what you're getting done. So the biggest thing for inspiration is being able to be here with my wife, my dog, and enjoying life while still working hard.
That's great. That's good to hear. And what happens eventually? You and your business partners, do you go back working more in the office? Where do you think it goes?
So I think we're definitely going to be back in the office at a certain point, because that human connection and that face-to-face connection is definitely important. I think the reason why certain people are able to adapt to Zoom, Microsoft Teams, etc., is because they have a personal connection already.
Right.
When you're able to leverage that, it's easy to transition into this type of communication style. But nothing beats having a drink with your team. Nothing beats having a coffee with your team. And I miss that. I absolutely miss that. So I'm looking forward to being able to get back to Geneva, get back to London to see the guys. But I don't think it's going to get back to a place where everyone is in the office 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever it is. I don't think that's the way forward. We've proven that there's a flexibility, and there can be flexibility, and that tension, that elastic between a more old school way of doing things and a completely new school way of doing things. I think for a lot of businesses that's snapped. And we won't get back to a place where it's just your typical punch card type of time card type of day. And I think for our guys in Geneva, where the bulk of the team is, they're overlapping 2 or 3 days a week in the office, and we try and stage it like that, so that way people can, if they're not figuring out their childcare situation yet because their nanny or whatnot, or their school's not reopened in the same way, they can have flexibility between spouses for that. But we still maintain that personal connection in the office from time to time.
That's great. That's some very astute comments. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us from Paris, leading
Absolutely.
innovation in Paris and around the world, Chris. Thank you so much for being on Short Connects today.
Absolutely, Barry. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.